Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since I made a video. Up to this point, I've been making videos about lighting. Today, I wanted to make a video about blocking and camera movement. All of the cinema elements work together, and it's really hard to say which one is better than the other. Real world is hard and unpredictable. Sometimes you don't have the right equipment or experience or budget, which is huge. So the best place to learn cinema techniques for camera movement and visual language is video game cinematic trailers. It's sort of a perfect chamber in a vacuum where the digital director and cinematographer can go nuts with their concepts and nothing is off limits. They can do literally anything. So today we're looking at a trailer for a video game called Overwatch that came out a while ago. To be exact, 9 years ago. Bro, I feel old. Actually, all of Blizzard's shorts are always fantastic, but when this video came out, I was particularly blown away, and you're about to see why. I will leave a link to a full video down in description.
My family tells of an ancient legend about two great dragon brothers, the dragon of the north wind and the dragon of the south wind. Together, they upheld balance and harmony in the heavens.
So if we go back here a second, we saw this camera movement, the trucking from left to right. In classic cinema, when you go from point A to point B, you always want to have point A as a set, beautiful composition, and end in the beautiful set composition. Otherwise, it's just videography.
And harmony in the heavens.
Beautiful jib down. This is another classic cinema technique. Whenever an action begins or a story begins, I'm sure you've seen this in many movies or music videos, when a camera comes down on a jib, that usually signifies a beginning of a story. Usually you see that with a car pulling in, or somebody arriving somewhere, or a story beginning when the jib comes down. This is another example of beautiful blocking. So first of all, we followed the main character as he is running, and we got some really beautiful parallax. We got two layers here. We got the bridge, we got the wires, and that really adds to the three-dimensional feeling of the space, which adds a lot of layers and is always a good practice to add layers. That way you can get a beautiful parallax effect. And the second thing about this is the camera was motivated by following the main character, and we stopped to reveal the second character. The idea here is that you're trying to get as much mileage as possible from the same take. You're trying to cram as much information as you can and add elements and block them in a way so that you don't need to cut to reveal new elements or tell the story further.
But the two brothers argued over who could.
That's a beautiful match cut right there.
Quarrel turned to rage and their violent struggle darkened the skies until the dragon of the south wind.
And again, we didn't cut. We just added more elements to the same scene as it progresses, and the camera just jibs down. It illustrates the story further. And again, we have extra elements to add to the dimensions of the scene. Like, this is just to add depth to the shot. I mean, these mountains, they almost feel like they were added later as a post idea, just to add more dimensions. So this is the foreground. We got our dragons as a middle ground, and there's a beautiful mountain centered in the back as a background. So we got 3 layers.
Entering the land.
I really like this composition. They're not only showing that there's multiple guards here, but also the composition is really nice. What makes this nice is the geometrical lines kind of going across. They're going across the screen. It's not crooked, like it's not random like that or like that. There's balance to it. And of course, we got a guy passing through that shot to get more mileage out of that shot. I like how in this shot, first of all, they're still keeping the layers. So there's foreground, middle ground, background. And you see other guys in the back. So it's not just a single shot. You can still get a sense of where this is happening. And such perfect blocking, man. I really enjoy these cinematics. I get smacked in the face. So we're not only showing the action of fighting, we follow him and end in this composition. It's almost like an excuse to progress to the next scene of this guy calling for backup or whatever. I like how this is super subtle, but if you look at this scene of him running away, his cell phone gets shot, he keeps running, and the camera keeps moving with him. And he keeps moving with him, and then it stops together as he stops. And that just, well done. This is really good stuff. Like I said, it's a perfect virtual playground where you can exercise anything. These shots, they add like 0.1% to the whole thing to make it even better. And they just add up together, and that makes the whole thing really stand out. It's such a minute thing, getting the shot of running together with the guy and then stopping as he hits the bell and falls. In real life, you probably would waste a lot of time trying to get that shot. You do it over and over and over again until you get it right. Maybe time-wise, maybe for production and budget, it's not worth it. But in virtual space, you have all the time in the world to do it.
The Dragon of the South Wind had triumphed, but as time passed and you
So usually when you pull out like that, in visual language, that usually signifies the end of a scene or accentuates somebody's loneliness. So when you do a scene breakdown for your project, you want to use this pull out when there's a moment for it. And it's either to signify as an end of a chapter, or when somebody feels lonely, or when they're abandoned, or it's some kind of logical end to something.
the sweetness of victory turned to ash.
It's a really beautiful match cut. And again, I love shots that go from point A to point B. Not only is this a really beautiful composition, but this one take reveals two elements. You're trying to stack as much information as you can into one take to progress a story further. And usually the goal for creative projects like this is to have as many photographic shots like this as you possibly can. Something to strive for is to make a project that you can pause at any moment, and that screenshot would make a really great wallpaper. It's a beautiful videography reveal. I've seen this a lot in like event videos and weddings and stuff. You saw that? That was a jib. Sometimes when there's no clear motivation for the camera movement and you're just trying to make something interesting, a cool practice is to combine multiple axes of camera movement. So instead of just going up or just coming from the side, they're combining going up and left. And that makes it look a little bit more dynamic and unique.
You must heal.
See, there's a very subtle camera push in, as if it's a story key moment. Usually this kind of camera movement is added to signify an important moment. There is a revelation or right before something happens, just to signify something important.
Valuing humility.
We see again this beautiful composition of lines going like that. I don't know what degree it is, but like 45? There's something pleasing about exact degrees, like straight lines, lines across, like 90 degrees, or 45, exact angles. It looks nice when you do that in your composition. I've seen this kind of shot in a lot of short films and commercials. I've done it too. Not here, not on this example. One of the biggest mistakes filmmakers make with these close-up shots of things is that they shoot it on an open aperture where only like this part is in focus, or like only the sticks and everything else is like blurred. These kind of detailed shots, you want to shoot them with closed aperture, maybe like 7 or 8, just so that you can see the entire thing in focus. In classic product photography, the reason you need so many lights is that so you can shoot with a closed aperture and so that everything is in focus. Because when you shoot with open aperture, that kind of gives cheap that you didn't have enough lights. But again, it depends on the story. Just a general rule of thumb. And again, see how he lands? And the shot ends in a perfect composition to show two elements. So this cyborg and our main character in the back. So you can see both of them. You can see the reaction, that he's nonchalant about it, he doesn't care. You could show how he lands off the side, or like not showing the second character. They're trying to stack a bunch of elements in the same shot. The more elements you stack, the more the thing that you're making feels like a movie. Because it shows intention, it shows planning. First of all, it's not only efficient budget-wise and time-wise when you actually shoot on set, but also it's interesting to watch because you can appreciate the planning and thought put into it.
That it was your duty.
So I don't know how basic it is, but I thought it might be helpful to say it out loud. As soon as the other character is established and where we are in time, in space, is that there's a character here, there's a character here, there's a line between them. There's a right side from this line and there's a left side from this line. What I'm talking about is the 180-degree rule. As soon as you establish the line between the two characters that are interacting, you always want to stay on the same side where you already are. So all of the shots that come after this will have to stay on the right side where we are now. Speaking of lighting, it's kind of silly to talk about lighting in 3D because they can put invisible lights anywhere and you never know. An element that they borrowed from real world is that they're shooting into his shadow side. So we see this part of the face is shadowed and this light comes from like the outside or whatever lights they are. But this is cinema.
I do not honor him.
Beautiful composition, beautiful slow-mo. I quite like that the arrow that he's just split into two parts is not just like sticks standing like that. It's a little bit curved. It's just a little bit more exciting. It's so perfectly balanced on both sides. And they're right in the middle there. You can see the whole... Dude, this is like a masterclass in composition.
You think you honor your brother?
So going back to the 180-degree rule is that if you pay attention, you'll notice that Genji is always on the right and Hanzo is always on the left. So they're always staying on this side of the line. This is so classic, it might as well be a trope. I've seen this in so many like cartoons and music videos, movies, where something happened on a rooftop or a mountain, and it's a wide shot at the bottom of that place where pieces of like rocks or elements falling towards the camera. In this shot, they could have just pulled out. They could have had a camera stationary. But again, just to make it more interesting, they combined two axes of camera movement. It pulls back and tilts up. Such a beautiful shot. In real world, this is like a 9mm lens or 11. Yeah, more like a 9. Looks like a 9. See, again, we see this dolly out. As was established previously, what does this signify? That's right, it signifies the end of a chapter or a story or an action, end of something. And he was defeated. This is a beautiful composition too. I don't know if there's any particular reason for switching it from the previous wide shot from the inside of the room. Probably just to spice things up and switch things up.
Revealed himself as his fallen brother. Reunited, the two set out to rebuild what they had.
Again, A and B. This is such a beautiful work. It's like a challenge. When you try to tell a story, the more elements you stack into a single take, the more epic and cinematic your project looks. Again, A and B, beginning in a beautiful composition, ending in a beautiful composition. I always love parallel, perfect, boxy lines. It blows my mind. The story is fantastic. The sound design is fantastic. The editing is fantastic. Lighting. It's a perfect visual medium in a vacuum where you can do anything, and it's such a fantastic resource for learning how to do things in real life. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this kind of video. It talks about camera movement and visual language. Let me know if you'd like to make more of these or go back to lighting. I enjoy them both equally. I have an entire folder with references saved over the years, so there's a lot of really good stuff to talk about and to learn from. Let me know what you thought about this video in the comments or what you'd like me to talk about next. Until then, I'll see you in the next one.